There are moments in life when words become useless, when love no longer hides inside conversations, promises, or explanations. Welcome back, dear soul, because tonight we are entering one of the deepest mysteries of the human heart. How a man shows he is in love with you without saying a single word is not just a question. It is a silent language most people spend their entire lives trying to understand. And maybe, just maybe, someone has already been loving you in complete silence while you were waiting to hear the words. Stay with me until the end, because what you are about to hear may change the way you see love forever. A man who truly loves you does not always announce his feelings loudly. In fact, the deepest love often arrives quietly, like rain falling in the middle of the night when nobody is watching. Modern society has taught people to believe love must always be spoken, displayed, proven with dramatic gestures and endless attention. But the human soul does not work that way. Real love is older than language itself. Long before human beings learned how to speak, they learned how to protect, how to stay, how to suffer silently for someone they could not live without. And this is why many women miss the most powerful kind of love, because they keep listening for words while the man's entire soul is already speaking through his actions, his silence, and the invisible energy he carries whenever you enter the room. Carl Jung once suggested that what we seek outside ourselves often mirrors something buried deep within our unconscious mind. Love is no exception. When a man truly falls in love, something ancient awakens inside him. It changes the way he looks at the world. Suddenly, your happiness begins affecting his emotions. Your pain starts echoing inside his chest as if it belongs to him too. And he may never say any of this directly, because some men are not trained to express emotions openly. Many were taught since childhood that vulnerability is weakness. They learn to hide their fears, bury their tenderness, and survive through silence. But love, real love, always escapes somehow. It leaks through the eyes. It reveals itself in behavior. It transforms the smallest details into emotional confessions that words could never fully explain. One of the first ways a man silently shows he is deeply in love with you is through presence. Not performance, presence. There is a difference. Many people know how to impress, but very few know how to truly be there. A man in love feels emotionally pulled toward your existence even when he cannot explain why. He remembers tiny details you forgot you ever mentioned. He notices changes in your mood before you speak about them. He watches your face carefully when you are hurting because your sadness disturbs something deep inside him. Even in silence, his attention follows you naturally, almost unconsciously. And this kind of presence cannot be faked for long because it comes from emotional attachment, not temporary attraction. Sometimes you will notice it in the way he looks at you during ordinary moments, not during glamorous moments, not when you are trying to be perfect, but during random, quiet seconds when your guard is down. A man who loves you without words often studies you when you are not looking, not because he is obsessed with your appearance, but because your existence feels emotionally safe to him. Your face becomes a place where his restless mind can finally rest. And when a man finds peace in your presence, he starts protecting that peace carefully. Even his eyes begin carrying a softness that only appears around the person his soul trusts completely. There is something profoundly spiritual about the silence of a man who loves deeply. He may struggle to confess his emotions because love terrifies him. Not weak love, real love. The kind that shakes the ego and destroys emotional walls built over many years. You must understand, men often fear emotional exposure because love gives another person the power to hurt them, and many men carry invisible wounds from rejection, abandonment, betrayal, or emotional neglect. So when he loves you quietly, part of him is fighting a battle inside himself. One side desperately wants to move closer to you, while the other side fears what could happen if he opens his heart completely. That internal conflict creates a silent intensity you can feel, even if he never speaks about it directly. A man deeply in love also begins sacrificing things without making announcements about it. He changes his schedule. He rearranges priorities. He becomes more patient. He suddenly cares about things he never cared about before, because now your world matters to him. And the beautiful part is that genuine love does not keep score. He does not constantly remind you about what he does for you, because his actions are not transactions, They are emotional instincts. Love naturally makes people give pieces of themselves without needing applause. This is why some of the most powerful expressions of love happen quietly behind closed doors, where nobody else can see them. Pay attention to the way he reacts when life becomes difficult for you. Attraction disappears during hardship, but love reveals itself there. A man who silently loves you feels emotionally disturbed by your suffering. Even if he cannot solve every problem, he wants to stand near you while you fight your battles. He checks on you. He becomes protective. His energy changes when he senses you are emotionally exhausted. And sometimes his silence becomes heavier because he wishes he could carry your pain for you. Many men struggle to verbalize emotional comfort, so instead they show love through practical actions, physical presence, or quiet loyalty. The world may not recognize these things as romantic, but the soul recognizes them immediately. There are men who say, "I love you," every day without meaning it, and then there are men who never say it once, yet their entire existence screams it. You see it in the consistency. You see it in the way they remain when life becomes inconvenient. Anyone can stay during easy seasons, but a man who silently loves you stays emotionally connected even during confusion, distance, misunderstandings, or difficult phases. His heart keeps returning to you, even when pride tells him to walk away, even when fear tells him to detach. Something inside him refuses to completely disconnect because love has already rooted itself too deeply. One of the clearest signs is emotional observation. A man in love becomes deeply aware of your emotional state. He may notice when your smile feels forced. He hears sadness hidden inside your laughter. He senses emotional shifts before anyone else does. This happens because love sharpens emotional sensitivity. Your energy starts affecting his nervous system. And although science may explain this psychologically, the soul understands it spiritually. Human beings are emotional mirrors. When two souls form a deep attachment, they begin absorbing each other's emotional atmosphere without even trying. Sometimes his love appears through nervousness, through awkward pauses, through moments where he suddenly loses confidence around you, even though he appears calm around everyone else. That is because love exposes authenticity. A man who truly cares about you fears disappointing you. Your opinion matters more than he wants to admit. Your approval affects him emotionally. And unlike players who perform effortlessly around many people, a genuinely attached man often becomes emotionally careful because the connection means something real to him. There is also a painful truth many people avoid discussing. Some men love silently because they believe they are not enough for the woman they love. Society constantly pressures men to measure their worth through success, money, strength, or status. So sometimes a man distances himself emotionally, not because he lacks love, but because he fears inadequacy. He wants to become someone worthy before revealing his heart. And during this process, his actions become contradictory. He may pull close and then retreat. He may stare deeply yet remain silent. He may care intensely while pretending not to. Because inside him, love and insecurity are fighting a private war. But real love always leaves traces. Always. Watch how he protects your dignity when you are absent. Watch whether he respects your boundaries. Watch whether he listens carefully when you speak about your dreams, fears, or childhood pain. Lust focuses on possession. Love focuses on understanding. A man who truly loves you wants to know the invisible parts of you, the parts hidden beneath your appearance, your fears, your scars, your silence, your hidden sadness. Because emotional intimacy becomes more important to him than surface attraction. Another powerful sign is the way he remembers emotional moments connected to you. The human brain naturally prioritizes emotionally meaningful memories. So when a man loves deeply, small moments involving you become unforgettable to him. A random conversation, a certain song, the way you smiled one evening, the sound of your voice during a difficult day. These details stay with him because emotional attachment burns experiences deeply into memory. And sometimes he may randomly mention things you forgot years ago because his heart stored them carefully without your knowledge. A silent lover also becomes emotionally protective of your peace. He does not enjoy seeing you emotionally drained by toxic situations or harmful people. Even if he says little, his actions reveal concern. He encourages your growth. He wants you safe. He respects your emotional world. And when a man truly loves you, He does not gain satisfaction from controlling you. He gains satisfaction from seeing you emotionally alive. Because healthy love does not imprison the soul, it nurtures it. Many women confuse loud attention with genuine devotion, but attention is easy. Consistency is rare. Anyone can create excitement temporarily. But silent love survives ordinary days. It survives routine. It survives boredom, stress, silence, and emotional storms. A man who truly loves you remains emotionally connected even when there is nothing to gain. And this is where destiny quietly reveals itself. Because the deepest relationships are not built on temporary intensity, they are built on emotional endurance. Sometimes his love appears through small acts nobody else notices. He walks on the dangerous side of the road. He checks whether you arrived home safely. He notices when you are cold. He instinctively moves closer when you feel anxious. These actions may appear simple, but psychologically they reveal protective attachment. Love activates caregiving instincts inside human beings, and when these instincts appear naturally without performance, they become one of the purest forms of emotional truth. There is also a sacred silence shared between two people deeply connected emotionally. Not uncomfortable silence, peaceful silence. The kind where words become unnecessary because both souls already feel understood. A man in love often seeks this silent closeness. He simply wants to exist beside you. No masks, no pressure, no pretending. Because when love becomes real, presence itself becomes fulfilling. And this is rare in a world where most connections are built on stimulation rather than emotional depth. The tragedy is that many people overlook quiet love because it does not look dramatic enough. Movies taught us to expect chaos, obsession, endless declarations, and constant excitement. But real love often looks calm, safe, grounded, mature. It feels like emotional shelter after years of emotional storms. And people who grew up around chaos sometimes mistake peace for boredom because their nervous systems became addicted to emotional instability. This is why healing becomes necessary before we can fully recognize healthy love when it finally arrives. A man silently in love also becomes emotionally available during your darkest moments, not just your brightest ones. He does not disappear when life becomes messy. He may not always know the perfect words, but he remains present. And presence during pain is one of the rarest forms of love in this world, because human beings naturally move away from discomfort. So when someone willingly stays emotionally near your suffering, it reveals something profoundly genuine inside them. There are moments when you will catch him looking at you with a strange mixture of admiration and sadness, almost as if he knows loving someone deeply always carries risk. Because love is beautiful, but it is also terrifying. The deeper the attachment, the greater the fear of loss becomes, and some men carry this silent fear constantly. They love carefully because they know how painful heartbreak can be. Yet despite the fear, they continue loving. Quietly, patiently, faithfully. Psychologically, love changes masculine energy in subtle ways. A man in love often becomes more future-oriented. He begins imagining stability, growth, and emotional security. He starts thinking beyond temporary pleasure because love naturally awakens responsibility. Even if he never says it directly, his decisions slowly begin including you. And this unconscious integration is one of the strongest indicators of genuine emotional attachment. Some men communicate love through acts of service because words were never their emotional language. Maybe nobody ever taught them how to express feelings verbally. Maybe vulnerability once caused them pain, so instead they fix things for you, help you quietly, solve problems, carry burdens, stand guard emotionally. This is important to understand because not all love speaks fluently through sentences. Some love speaks through loyalty, through consistency, through silent protection. And then there is the deepest sign of all. A man who truly loves you inspires you to feel more like yourself, not less. His presence does not force you to perform constantly. You feel emotionally safe enough to remove masks, safe enough to rest, safe enough to heal. Because genuine love does not shrink the soul, it expands it. It reminds you who you were before the world taught you to fear abandonment, rejection, or unworthiness. If you pay close attention, you will realize that love is not always hidden inside grand confessions. Sometimes it hides inside patience, inside loyalty, inside quiet sacrifices nobody applauds, inside late-night concern, inside emotional consistency, inside eyes that soften only around one person. And perhaps the reason silent love feels so powerful is because it comes directly from the soul rather than the ego. Ego wants attention, soul wants connection. The world today is filled with noise, endless messages, endless validation, endless performances pretending to be intimacy. But true love still moves quietly beneath all of it, like an underground river, ancient, patient, sacred. And maybe the reason you found this video tonight is because your soul needed this reminder. Someone does not need to say, "I love you," every minute to genuinely love you deeply. Sometimes, the loudest confession is hidden inside silent devotion. Never underestimate the emotional courage it takes for a wounded person to love sincerely again. Many people walking around today are carrying invisible heartbreaks nobody knows about, betrayals they never healed from, rejections they never forgot, childhood wounds still shaping adult relationships. So when a man slowly opens his emotional world to you through trust, consistency, attention and care, you are witnessing something sacred. Because love after pain is one of the bravest things a human being can do. And maybe this is what destiny truly means. Not perfect relationships, not fantasy, but two imperfect souls slowly recognizing safety within each other. Two nervous systems learning peace together. Two hearts communicating beyond language, beyond pride, beyond fear. And when this kind of love enters your life, it changes you permanently, because for the first time, you stop begging to be chosen. You simply feel seen. So if you have been waiting desperately for words, pause for a moment and observe the energy instead. Observe the consistency, observe the care, observe the silent loyalty. Because sometimes, the universe hides the deepest emotions inside the quietest people, and often, the man who cannot perfectly express love verbally may still be loving you more sincerely than anyone ever has before. At the end of life, people rarely remember fancy speeches or dramatic declarations. They remember who stayed, who cared, who protected their spirit gently, who made them feel safe during painful seasons, who loved them quietly when the entire world felt cold. That is the love that leaves permanent fingerprints on the human soul. And perhaps tonight, somewhere in the silence of your own heart, you are beginning to recognize something you overlooked before. Maybe someone has been speaking the language of love to you all along, not through words, but through presence, patience, loyalty, sacrifice, and emotional truth. Because the deepest love was never meant to be heard only by the ears. It was meant to be felt by the soul.